Hello and welcome back to Pingflix. Today I have brought you an American romantic comedy film from 2011 titled Just Go With It. Spoiler alert. I hope you enjoy it.
The film begins in 1988, with the bride and her bridesmaids talking about how annoying and ugly the groom's sister is. Our protagonist Daniel Maccabee, a 22-year-old man, was listening to his fiancée talk about how she was only marrying him because he was going to be a doctor, and that she cheated on him with her ex just after rehearsal dinner. Heartbroken Danny abandoned his wedding shortly before the ceremony after hearing this. He then goes to drink alone at a bar, where a young, beautiful woman walks in. She assumed he was flirting with her, but when she saw Danny wearing a wedding ring, she apologized and starts asking questions about his wife, to which he explains how she recently left him for someone else, and her drug addictions. After hearing this, the young woman felt sorry for him and wanted to make him happy. He then realizes the power of the wedding ring and changes his major to plastic surgery, faking unhappy marriages to attract women, and avoid emotional commitment that may lead to heartbreak. Danny is now 45, a successful plastic surgeon in Los Angeles. The only lady who is aware of his plots is his office manager/assistant and closest friend Katherine Murphy, a divorced mother of two. At a party, Danny had to take off his fake wedding ring to stitch a boy and meets Palmer, a young 6th grade math teacher. They have a real connection and spend the night together on a beach. The next morning, she ends up finding the ring and she figures he was hiding the fact that he was married, so she throws the ring at him and walks away. Later that day, Katherine asked him to tell the truth if he really liked her. Danny asks to pretend to be her for a moment, and before he finishes his sentence, "I wear this fake wedding ring," and she calls him pig and laughs. We then see Katherine kids, Maggie and Michael, who turn up in the clinic because their father is no-show. Michael tells Danny that he saw a show on the Discovery Channel, and asks him to take Hawaii so that he can swim with dolphins. Danny gently declines and suggests he do a paper route or something to earn money for a trip. When Michael said, "Can I make a Devlin before we leave for lunch?" Danny inquires as to what this means. Katherine then mentions her old college sorority enemy, and she asks the kids to name them Devlin instead of "I've got to take a crap," which they liked. The following day, Danny visits Palmer's school in an attempt to win her back, but she refuses to date him because her parents separated due to adultery. Rather than telling the truth, Danny tells her that he is getting divorced from a woman named Devlin because she cheated on him with a man named Dolph Lundgren, not the actor. Palmer then insists on meeting Devlin in order to accept him. Danny agrees and begs Katherine to play the role of Devlin. She eventually agrees, and the two go shopping for clothes so she can look like a trophy wife. Later that afternoon, while drinking at a hotel, Danny and Palmer are greeted by a maid over Katherine, aka Devlin, who taunts him a little and gives them her blessing. However, while leaving, Katherine received a call, and after having heard her on the phone with her kids, Palmer assumes that her kids are Danny's as well, which Danny goes along with. Palmer claims she loves kids and wanted to meet them. Danny then meets privately with Katherine's kids, to convince them to play along, and gives them the aliases of Kiki D and Bart respectively. Maggie demands 3 weeks of acting camp with $300 per day, and Michael again proposes Hawaii with Dolphin, but they settle on PlayStation 3. Danny agrees to their demands for being his fake children. Katherine was initially furious about involving her children, but she hesitantly agrees. The next day, Palmer meets the kids at a McFunnigan's place-like play center, where Maggie has adopted a phony British accent, and Michael acts very depressedly. By bringing up a cancelled Hawaii trip in front of Palmer, Michael blackmails Danny into taking them all. At the airport, Danny said can't believe a 6-year-old blackmailed him. Michael responded with, "I saw my shot and I took it." They are all surprised by Danny's goofball cousin Eddie, who has adopted an Austrian disguise as a Dolph Lundgren, that Danny had made up earlier, because he is escaping from his ex-new boyfriend after attempting to steal her back. Danny and Katherine are forced to bring him along, in order to maintain the lies. At the resort in Hawaii, Danny tells Eddie that he is thinking of asking Palmer to marry him. Later that night, Katherine and Danny run into the real-life Devlin Adams and her husband Ian Maxtone-Jones, who allegedly invented the iPod. Because of Katherine and Devlin's longtime rivalry, she introduces Danny as her husband rather than admit she is a single mother. The next day, they all went on a hike early in the morning to find the amazing waterfall. When Danny urged Michael to go swim, he hesitated because the water was too deep and he couldn't swim. Danny got angered for a second and yelled, "But you want to swim with Dolphin?" Katherine then asks Danny to look after Michael, and goes swimming at the waterfall with Palmer. Danny and Palmer are watching the kids that night, when Michael has a breakdown. He thought of his true father and stated his father won't make time for him, causing Palmer to get upset. Palmer then informs the children, "Your mother and I are going to spend the entire day at the spa, so Danny can spend time with the kids." As Danny teaches Michael to swim, Palmer and Katherine watch in awe as Danny wins the kids over. Katherine runs into Devlin at the pool again, and she invites Katherine and Danny out to dinner that night. Eddie agrees to take Palmer out, so that Danny can accompany Katherine. At dinner, Devlin asks Danny and Katherine to tell each other what they admire most about one another. Both end up saying honest things, with Katherine admiring his good sense of humor and Danny loving the fact that he's never had to lie to her. After that, Danny and Katherine start to feel a connection. Later that night, when Palmer and Eddie return from their dinner, drunken Eddie told her about Danny's plans of engagement. Palmer has stated that she does not want a ring and has suggested that we'll get married tomorrow. Danny and Katherine are both surprised by her proposition, but he ultimately agrees. Danny and Katherine are unable to sleep since they are preoccupied with their feelings for each other. He then calls her regarding his confusion, but Katherine informs him that she will be accepting a job in New York City to begin a fresh start in her life. The following morning, Palmer confronts Katherine regarding getting married to Danny, as she has noticed how he looks at her and laughs at her joke but not mine. Katherine then responds with, "We're familiar, but there's nothing going on between us." Palmer is relieved to hear this, and Katherine looks at Danny with her kids around smiling. Katherine later runs into Devlin, and inquires about Danny's whereabouts. Katherine admits that she made up being married to Danny to avoid embarrassment. She proudly stated, "I'm a single mother with 2 kids whom I love so much." Devlin then starts to confess that she is divorcing Max because he is gay. She also informs that he did not invent the iPod, but he did make a fortune by suing the Los Angeles Dodgers after being hit by a foul ball. Katherine confides to Devlin that she is in love with Danny, even though they won't be together. But then Danny appears behind her, and tells her that he can't go through with the marriage because she is not you. He admits to loving Katherine and adoring those 2 kids. They both shared a kiss and continued their vacation, where Michael finally got to swim with dolphins. Meanwhile, Palmer flying back to Los Angeles alone, she meets a professional tennis player who shares her interests. Sometime later, Danny tells us, through voiceover, that he is finally wearing his wedding ring for real, with whom he will spend the rest of his life. The movie ends with Danny and Katherine enjoying their first dance at their wedding. If you liked the video, subscribe for more of this. Thank you for watching.